Can Samsung finally beat Motorola at its own flip game? A new leak might just confirm the biggest design change coming to the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 7, and this one could seriously shake up the flip phone market. Hidden inside Samsung's own, One UI 8 software leaked animation files are pointing toward a major redesign for the outer display, and this time it's not just a small tweak. So what exactly changed? According to the leaked build of One UI 8, Samsung may finally be going for an edge-to-edge cover screen on the Flip 7. And not just any screen, one that wraps around both rear cameras, stretching across almost the entire front panel when the phone is folded. That would be a big jump from the 3.4-inch cover display on the Flip 6, which many users felt was too small for anything beyond checking notifications or using a clock widget. Rumors suggest the new display might measure around 4 inches, giving users much more room to respond to messages, read emails, or even check maps, all without flipping open the phone. That's a big deal, especially when you look at what competitors are doing. Motorola's Razr Plus already has a 3.6-inch OLED screen on the outside, and it runs full Android apps. Xiaomi's Mix Flip is rumored to push that even further with its own edge-to-edge cover panel. These brands are treating the outer screen as the main way to use the phone, not just a tiny preview window. Samsung, on the other hand, has always led in hinge design, build quality, and water resistance. But it lagged behind on outer display size, until now. So why this change? It seems Samsung is finally ready to give users a full-featured cover screen, and the software leak shows signs of native support for full apps on the outer panel, something users previously had to tweak, using Good Lock or other tools. If Samsung builds in this support from day one, the Flip 7 could feel far more functional, even when it's snapped shut. Now, let's talk specs. According to the latest rumors, the Galaxy Z Flip 7 is expected to have a 6.85-inch dynamic AMOLED main display with a 120Hz refresh rate, a 4-inch AMOLED cover screen, likely with a 60Hz refresh rate. The latest Snapdragon 8 Elite processor, with some markets possibly getting Samsung's Exynos 2512 GBs of RAM and either 256 or 512 GBs of storage, a camera setup with a 50-megapixel main sensor, a 12-megapixel ultra-wide, and a 10-megapixel selfie camera, a 4300 mAh battery supporting 25-watt wired charging. Android 16 with One UI 8 right out of the box. Samsung is expected to announce the Flip 7 sometime in July 2025. And if these leaks hold true, this could be the most complete flip phone the company has ever made. Why does the cover screen matter so much? If you've never used a flip phone, the outer display is what you interact with all the time. Can a phone bezel really be so thin that it almost disappears? According to a new leak, Samsung's upcoming Galaxy Z Fold 7 might just pull that off. If true, it could make last year's Galaxy Z Fold 6 look like it's from a different era. Let's talk about what's been revealed. A well-known leaker, Ice Universe, claims that the bezels on the Fold 7's inner display are just 1 millimeter thin. That's almost half the size of the Fold 6's bezels, which measured about 1.9 millimeters. It might sound like a small change on paper, but in real life, the difference will be easy to notice, especially when you're watching videos, reading, or just browsing. Samsung isn't stopping there either. The Galaxy Z Flip 7, its smaller foldable sibling, is also expected to join the slim bezel club. The outer screen bezels could shrink to 1.2 millimeters. That's cleaner, sleeker, and definitely more premium looking. Now you might wonder, why does bezel size even matter? Well, thinner bezels don't just make the screen look bigger, they actually make the entire device feel more modern. You get a better viewing experience without making the phone physically larger. Plus, thinner. Bezels are becoming a status symbol of high-end design in smartphones. But that's not the only big news. The Galaxy Z Fold 7 is also rumored to be incredibly thin when unfolded. It could be just 3.9 millimeters thick. That's impressively slim, especially for a foldable device with a large internal screen. It even puts pressure on rivals like Oppo's Find N5 and the upcoming Honor Magic V5, both known for their sleek builds. To give some perspective, the Fold 7 is said to measure 158.4 by 143.1 millimeters when open. These updated dimensions suggest that Samsung has not only made the phone thinner, but also given it a slightly taller and wider footprint, allowing for an even larger display than before. Rumors point to an 8.2-inch inner screen, which would be the biggest yet on a Samsung foldable. And while Samsung is busy refining its foldables, Apple is also in the background, reportedly preparing its first foldable iPhone. But that won't be coming until next year, giving Samsung time to dominate the foldable scene again in 2025. With all these design changes, the Galaxy Z Fold 7 might be the biggest refresh we've seen in the Fold series in years. It doesn't just upgrade the specs, it completely changes the feel of the phone. The Galaxy Z Flip 7, on the other hand, seems to be growing up. Its cover screen is expected to get bigger, now rumored to be around 4 inches compared to 3.4 inches on the Flip 6. Inside, the screen might also increase in size to 6.85 inches. Add the slimmer bezels to that, and you're looking at a more immersive Flip experience than ever before. Samsung is clearly going all in on design this year. With people wanting sleeker, more modern-looking phones, it makes sense. Why would anyone choose a thinner phone over a more powerful one? That's exactly the question Samsung seems to be answering with the Galaxy S25 Edge, and surprisingly, it might be one of the most interesting phones of the year. Most of the attention usually goes to the top-tier flagship models like the Galaxy S25 Ultra, packed with all the best specs. But this year, the Edge version might just steal the spotlight, not because it's the most powerful, but because it's the thinnest. Leaked images show just how slim this phone is. At only 585 millimeters thick, it's the thinnest smartphone in the Galaxy S series ever. When you see it placed next to the Galaxy S25 Ultra, the difference is hard to ignore. It's sleek, light, and easy to hold, something many users have been wanting for a long time. It's clear that phone makers are starting to understand that not everyone wants a massive, heavy device in their pocket. In fact, Apple is also rumored to be releasing the iPhone 17 Air, which will be even thinner, just 5.5 millimeters. But Samsung is striking first with the S25 Edge, launching it on May 13th. Now yes, comparing the S25 Edge with the S25 Ultra might not be entirely fair. The Ultra has more features like a dedicated zoom camera, which the Edge doesn't include, and that's on purpose. Samsung had to skip certain components to make the phone this slim. But guess what? Most people won't mind. Take the Galaxy Z Flip, for example. It's never had a zoom camera either, but it's still Samsung's best-selling foldable phone. Why? Because people love the form factor. They're okay with making small trade-offs if the phone looks and feels better to use. That's why the Galaxy S25 Edge could be the surprise hit of 2025. Samsung seems to know this, which is why the phone isn't being treated like some limited edition product. Unlike the Galaxy Z Fold Special Edition, this one is getting a proper global rollout. The launch will start in South Korea, followed by the United States and Europe, some of Samsung's most important markets. If the response is strong, the phone could expand into even more regions. One concern some people might have is the price. In many places, it's expected to cost about the same as the Galaxy S25 Plus, or maybe even a bit more. That might sound steep for a phone that isn't packed with every feature possible, but Samsung is clearly betting that the ultra-thin design will be enough to draw people in, and they might be right. In markets where people buy phones mostly through carrier plans, the pricing may not feel like a huge deal. If Samsung sees strong demand there, that could help shape its future release strategy and even encourage them to expand the Edge line further. In fact, it's very likely that we'll see a Galaxy S26 Edge next year, especially if the current version does well.